So we have Mr. Scott Ritter back, former UN weapons inspector and Marine Corps operative, and Nima, host of Dialogue Works. I just needed to repost this because Scott, as always, is on the money. I suggest following him on Substack, and he also has a YouTube channel, although not many people go there because he's more of a pundit who does the rounds on other shows, but he does not disappoint in this one.
The confrontation between Iran and the United States, we had finally, everybody was talking about negotiation, the talks, the messages between the two sides, and we had the Iranian team in Qatar talking with the Qatari government. So in the last 2 or 3 days, we had some sort of confrontation. One of them was that American fighter jets hit 2 of these speedboats in the Persian Gulf. The outcome was the killing of the 4 sailors. And on the other hand, Iranian hit MQ-9 drone. Then they fired on RQ-9 and F-35. There are footages of those attacks, those, shootings on MQ-9 and F-35. They have published some footages of that. But when you look at the situation between Iran and the United States, there is no real negotiations going on, I would say, because the two sides are talking to each other via Pakistan or Qatari government, something like that. But maybe, I don't know if there is any phone call behind the scene. I cannot confirm that because I have seen no news in the Persian media talking about that. That's why I assumed only they're sending messages back and forth through Pakistani government. What is your understanding of what's going on?
That's my understanding. I mean, it's a negotiation. It's just not your classic negotiation. How else do you expect the United States and Iran to speak to each other today? Donald Trump is an insane individual, literally, demonstrably, suffering from narcissistic personality disorder of the most malignant variety. We don't have a president. We have a cult of personality. This is all about the Donald and how things impact him. Then you have an Iranian government. It's all about Iran and about geopolitical reality, and they live in the real world. So anytime you blend the real world with a fantasy world, you're going to have a gap between the two, and that gap is going to be impossible to bridge directly. So you need dream interpreters, I guess, and that's where Pakistan and Qatar fall into place. Their job is to, try to cobble together some sort of understanding between these two entities that can bring about a shared objective. But the problem is there is no shared objective. Donald Trump's objectives are purely political in nature, how they impact him here at home. Iran's objectives are purely selfish in nature, to be honest. They have every right to be selfish, but it's about how this benefits Iran. Iran, which is the aggrieved party. Iran, which was attacked, a surprise attack, an act of perfidy by the United States and Israel on February 28th. Never the two shall meet, apparently. I mean, even if a temporary agreement is reached, understand that even, some of the text that the Iranian media has been publishing talks about issues being pushed off. Anytime you get Donald Trump to push something out, it just means that you're giving him a window of opportunity to vacillate, change his mind, interfere, disrupt. And the actions that you speak of are, I think part and parcel of what's going to be the new reality. I think both parties understand there needs to be relative freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. What the United States will get out of it is the flow of energy, which will alleviate a global economic crisis. What Iran will get out of it is the fact that they're going to be allowed to collect an environmental tax or whatever they want to call it. And I think that's pretty much the only agreement we're going to get, which is an agreement which I don't know it'll ever be manifested in writing because I don't think Donald Trump's agreement capable. He can't afford to be seen as losing this war. And yet he lost this war. And so I think that's where we're at right now. That all parties are focused on how to keep shipping flowing through the Strait of Hormuz. what happened with the downing is a clash designed for the United States to imprint itself, to say we're still here, we're relevant, we can, we're somehow large and in charge. But at some point in time, we're going to have to stand down and allow traffic to go through. But that doesn't mean there's going to be an agreement on some of the more difficult things: the nuclear program, ballistic missiles, Lebanon, ceasefires, all that. It's hard to say where we're going. It's impossible because, again, I've said this before. You've heard me say it, and I'll say it again. You can't expect people like me, you, and others to get into the mind of a madman, literally an insane individual. Donald Trump is mentally ill. He suffers from mental illness, and therefore he cannot be predicted. You cannot apply normal, cause-effect rationality to what he does. His social media posts are all over the place. The only consistency appears to be his ability to manipulate the markets in a way that are beneficial to insiders who are aware of, what he's going to post, when he's going to post it. But otherwise, nothing he's doing is to the benefit of the United States. That's a statement of fact.
Here is what he said moments ago about the Strait of Hormuz and his shocking comment on Oman. Here is what he said.
Wants control of the Strait of Hormuz. Would you accept a short-term deal that allows Iran and Oman to control the strait? And would they have to open it immediately, or would you be open to that happening over a period of time?
No, the strait's going to be open to everybody.
And who would control it?
It's international waters. Nobody's going to control it. We're going to watch over it. We'll watch over it, but nobody's going to control it. That's part of the negotiation that we have. They would like to control it. Nobody's going to control it. It's international waters, and Oman will behave just like everybody else, so we'll have to blow them up.
Come on, man. And I'm gonna admit it, I used to kind of support Trump. I was very right wing, unfortunately, but as you do research and hopefully mature as a person, like Scott says, he is crazy, and I'm so pleased I saw the light. And people accuse us of being a never Trump, or got, what is it, TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. But he's literally going insane, and he has said that the stock markets are a casino, and him and his friends at the minute are playing the game. They're getting richer and richer. His wealth has doubled. His family's wealth has doubled since he's been in office. Fact check that. It has doubled. And the everyday people, the citizens, the people he's meant to be doing this for, are the ones that suffer.
Just unbelievable. Oman is the guy who has nothing to do with any war, and he's threatening the government in Oman.
Let's just hit rewind. Donald Trump is a mentally ill individual. All right. Think of the narcissism that's encompassed in everything he just said. We will watch over it. Really? Is that your job, Donnie baby? Who appointed you to be the guardian of the Strait of Hormuz? This is his own little fantasy world. You tried that, Donald, and Iran spit slapped you. You lost. You can't open it up. You don't have any ability. You're sitting there with a Secretary of War who got his ass kicked, and a Secretary of State / National Security Advisor who gave you some of the worst advice ever. You're surrounded by losers, and you are the ultimate loser. I mean, literally, staple an L to this guy's forehead. Don't pay attention to anything this guy says, because here's the reality of it. 6 hours from now, he'll post something different. And 6 hours from now, he'll post something different. And the man is a lunatic, a raving, mad, insane individual. Do you think, Iran? Do you think the Iranians woke up? Oh, shit, we're in trouble now. Donnie's mad at us. We better do something. You think the Omanis went, whoa, damn, he's going to blow us up? He's not going to do anything against Oman. Nothing. These are empty threats. He's got nothing left. He already threw his Sunday punch. He got into the ring with Mike Tyson and he gave it the best shot, hit him in the jaw. And Mike Tyson went, let's go. That's it. That was your best punch. You ain't going to knock Mike Tyson out. You're not going to knock Iran out. That's the reality. Many in the United States can't wake up and accept this reality. It's true. We lost the war and we can't win this war. We're not going to reverse course. The time it would take for us to build and assemble the forces necessary to have a meaningful impact is prohibitively long. Meanwhile, all Iran has to do is squeeze the Strait of Hormuz and choke the life out of the global economy, which will bring about a general collapse. To include a collapse in the United States would make it impossible for us to generate the forces that we need to. Iran holds all the cards. That's the reality.
How do you see the pressure from the Israeli government? Ben-Gvir today said Donald Trump cannot make a bad deal, and Israel is not going to accept that. How we know that the Trump administration, you remember when this administration was elected, we were talking about Tulsi Gabbard, the people who were more rational in the Trump administration. Those people are gone mostly. And I would say the vice president of the United States is somehow disappearing from the scene. We haven't heard that much from J.D. Vance. It's been a while. But what is happening to the Trump administration, and what do we know about the leverage the Israeli government has on the Trump administration?
Well, we know the Israeli government believes it has bought and paid for the United States, and it has. Bought us, paid for it, and we're supposed to dance to their tune. That's the way the relationship works. They give you a lot of money, and then they tell you what to do when it comes to Israel, and you do it. Contractual relationship, straight up. They bought Congress, spent $100 million last election cycle to buy Congress. They're working on buying Congress again, $30 million to unseat Thomas Massey. They're spending more money to try and control races. And Donald Trump continues to be surrounded people bought and paid for by Israel, especially Marco Rubio, $200 million from Adelson's widow. Gets you a Secretary of State. So Ben-Gvir, I think, believes what he says. He believes it. He doesn't know a damn thing about the United States of America. Because first, when we talk about politics, the only thing that matters is money. And of course, the Israelis have thrown a lot of money to buy American politicians. But once you put an American politician in office, they want to stay in office. Now, Israel's leveraged their ability to manipulate money to, to maintain control over that process as well. If you don't do what we want, we'll primary you. We'll spend money and put somebody up against you, and then you have to run against them and all that. All right, that's good and dandy. And most people don't want to be primary, so they play the Israeli game because there's no downside. The American people have shown that there literally is no downside for being pro-Israel. The vast majority of the people that are pro-Israel get reelected year after year after year after year after year. There's no downside until Israel starts a war that we lose.
Just quickly, I'm not going to mention anything about Israel, but on the topic of buying Congress, there's an interesting book for anyone who is interested in this called Lobbying for Zionism on Both Sides of the Atlantic by Ilan Pappe, P-A-P-P-E. Well worth the read. I'm just busy doing some more research. I'm going to release some videos on that, but it's the truth, and people say that's anti-Semitic for saying that. It isn't anti-Semitic for opposing a political movement, Zionism.
And there's a threat of general global economic collapse that impacts the United States. High oil we're back to money. Remember what I told you? The only thing that counts in American politics is money. Bill Clinton, James Carville, his campaign manager back in 1992, I think, said it best: yellow sticker on the door of the war room. It's the economy, stupid. That's the only thing that gets American politicians elected. No American politician gets elected on Israel. Israel's a supporting factor. Every American politician gets elected on the economy. Ultimately, it comes down to how do the American people feel about their wallet and their bank account when they go to the election booth. That's it. Everything else is window dressing. If you have two sides that are playing the same economic cards, then you can pick, gun control, abortion, Israel, and these things to help tip it over. But the bottom line is, it's the party that the Americans feel is going to generate more money in their bank account at the end of each month. And Donald Trump's in trouble right now because he's in the process of destroying the economy of an entire nation. And Israel's in trouble. Ben-Gvir may not recognize this, but Israel's being blamed, rightfully so, for getting us involved in this war. So when people say, Donald Trump, why did this happen? Donald Trump's going to say, Benjamin Netanyahu made me do it. Ben-Gvir has no control over Donald Trump, none. When the day comes when Donald Trump is looking at, his political legacy, which means if he screws this up, impeachment, perhaps conviction, and he's weighing that on the grand scales of life with Ben-Gvir and Israel, guess who's going to lose? Ben-Gvir and Israel. It's the easiest thing in the world. It's the economy, stupid. The economy sinks anyway. George Herbert Walker Bush, won the Gulf War. Great victorious leader. Man, he was looking good. There's no way. I mean, we won that in 91. How could he lose in 92? How could he lose in 92? Impossible to lose. Read my lips. No new taxes. And then he put on new taxes. And that was the end of him. Winning a war didn't matter. Being the best national security president there didn't matter. It was the economy, stupid. Bill Clinton was right. It's just the way it is. You know who knows this? Ben-Gvir's boss, Benjamin Netanyahu. He gave an interview where he said, we have to decouple ourselves from the United States financially within 10 years. Because he sees, you don't have to be a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. He sees the weather. He sees what's happening. And he sees the United States, fully 60% of the Americans have already become disenchanted with Israel, don't support it fully. The numbers are going to get worse as the economy grows worse. And we look at, who's to blame for this? Israel. And he recognizes at some point in time, America is going to cut the umbilical cord. Ben-Gvir is wrong. Israel can't dictate squat to the United States unless the United States wants to be dictated to. Meaning that, hey, if it's good to have your money and get elected and it doesn't cost me anything meaningful, I'll do it. But the moment it costs me, the moment I have to pay a price domestically, politically, for supporting your failed little nation, we'll cut it in a heartbeat. Cut it in a heartbeat. And so Ben-Gvir is dead wrong. Netanyahu knows the truth, that eventually America is going to cut Israel off. And if Ben-Gvir wants to play stupid games in a period of immediate political crisis for the president of the United States, who's looking at a disaster in the midterms, he'll find out the hard way that Israel has no cards in this game, none whatsoever.
One thing, that is the dangerous part, the part I'm worried about. Trump, he can't be seen as losing, can he? Because it will affect his political career. He's going to lose the House and Senate in the midterms. He's probably going to be impeached. So what does he... This is the problem. He is a malignant narcissist. And he is mentally ill. So that is the part that worries me. Everything else Scott is saying, I totally agree with. And I pray, I hope that's the end of you know who. But I think there's more twists and turns, unfortunately.
Smotrich yesterday said that Benjamin Netanyahu forced the United States into this war. And what else can the United States do for Israel, Scott? I would say this is the final goal for Israel, the United States attacking Iran. What else can they do? What do they want from the United States? I don't understand it. I don't understand when they say we want to continue the war. What does that mean for Israel? And how is that going to help them?
Well, first of all, this is the last, if this was a computer game, we're at the final boss. Iran's the final boss. There is no other boss. The final boss is Iran. And you can't fight the final boss without the United States. You have to have the United States as an ally. So do you think Israel is going to admit defeat and just walk away? No. They're going to keep saying, America, you have to stay and finish the job, stay and finish the job, stay and finish the job. But they didn't do their homework right. They sold this war falsely, wrongly. I mean, they got Donald Trump to believe that if you killed Ali Khamenei, Iran will collapse and all the other problems solve themselves, and that this would happen with a matter of days. And sure enough, on day one, we killed Ali Khamenei. Iran didn't collapse, just the opposite. And now everything Israel told the United States turns out to be a lie. And Donald Trump's paying the political price for it. That's the reality. What does Israel want? They have no plan B. Because a plan B means that you don't get to beat the big boss, which means you don't get to win the game. And the game is Greater Israel. That's the name of the game, Greater Israel. If you don't beat the big boss, then you're going to have to make concessions everywhere, and you're going to have to fall into a different game called preserving Little Israel. But the cost you're going to pay for failing, for gambling to take on the final boss and losing, is you will probably change the demographics of the region dramatically because of the difficulty of continuing to live in Israel. People will flee, and you're going to have a different game called a one-state solution named Palestine. So Israel, they're in dire straits right now, literally dire straits. And, fat genocidal maniacs like Ben Gvir and Smotrich will continue to spout crap and nonsense. And ultimately, they're going to pay the price politically. I mean, I wouldn't want to be an Israeli today. Let me put it that way. This is not going to be a good decade for them.
Here is what Donald Trump said about the Abraham Accords.
To have the countries we were talking about, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and the others, we'd like to have them immediately join and Steve Witkoff is working on that with Jared and some others, but would like to have them join the Abraham Accords. It'll be historic if they do it. And I think they owe that to us, to be honest. I think, because that really would be a tremendous sign. And I think those countries owe it to us.
They owe it to us because we got them involved in a war that we lost. We promised them security that we couldn't deliver. We created a situation where they're now living under the threat of national extinction because of America. They owe it to us to give us, to buy into a policy that's all about Palestinian genocide and the elimination of any possibility of a Palestinian state, shifting the blame away from Israel onto the Gulf Arab nations. That's what they owe us. Donald Trump is the most, again, he's insane. Okay. We have to stop treating him like he's a normal human being. That's an insane man there. No rational human being can make that claim. They owe it to us. They don't owe anything to you, Donald. None. I mean, do you understand the insanity that's inherent in that statement? This man is not well. And the fact that Hegseth and Rubio sit there compliantly, nodding and they're not well either. They're facilitators of insanity. There was a time when people made fun of Joe Biden for, cruelty to the elderly by keeping Joe Biden in play when he's clearly out of it. Well, we have a situation now where we have people who are facilitating the mentally ill. And most people would say that that's abuse. But it is abuse of a nation, abuse of the world by this clinically insane individual who thinks that he's owed something that nobody ever bought into in a major way. I mean, the Saudis have clearly linked the Abrams Accord to Palestinian statehood. And if you're not going to give Palestine statehood, then why do you think the Saudis are going to do something for you? He's a sick man. Donald Trump is a sick man. He's not well. And unfortunately, people aren't executing the 25th Amendment. He continues to function as the chief executive. And therefore, this sick man, when he tweets or posts and when he speaks, we have to listen to him. But try to breathe common sense and rational, analytical structures into what he's saying. You can't do that. You can't do that. Nothing he says makes sense. He lives in a fantasy world.
Sorry. What do you think? I mean, he's hit the nail on the head, like. He has. Crazy. But I'm just praying. We've got to pray for the positives to come out of this. Like, enough's enough. Hopefully. Time will tell. Like I say, I don't think Trump can walk away, like, because he could have walked away a month ago, like. But Iran do hold all the cards. But I hope you enjoyed that.